Welcome back to Rebel Watch. We are unfortunately no longer undefeated, but we will get into that Georgia game and start unpacking it. First, I'm your host, Erika Dierke.
I'm Max Certuse.
I'm Mariah Evans.
And I'm Henry Stewart.
So I had the fortune and misfortune, however you want to look at it, of going to the game. It was super fun, really exciting, very back and forth, but we did unfortunately, walk away with an L. So what are we thinking? Do we think the season's over? Do we think that this was an important obstacle? What should we take away from this loss?
I think it was an important obstacle, but this is not the game I don't think, certainly I was expecting, and I think a lot of people can say that as well. I mean, this was a game where there was no defense on either side, and I think that if Ole Miss's defense makes a few more stops, they probably win the game. Coulda, woulda, shoulda. They lost the game at the end of the day, but they let Georgia's offense do completely whatever they wanted to, plain and simple.
Yeah, I totally agree. I don't think, the season's not over. No, I think this was a great testimony, even though it was a loss, but it was a great testimony to what this team is and can be. But yeah, Henry, you're absolutely right. The defense was atrocious, to say the least. 2 points that I want to focus on the most are the secondary, which was absolutely awful.
Yes.
And then the D-line, and they really struggled with the pass rush, which is something that you saw. I mean, Gunnar Stockton had a lot of time in the pocket, which is not something that we want to see going into this game with Oklahoma next week. But yeah, I think there were some big apparent issues with that defense, and almost the only apparent issues were with the defense.
Yeah.
No, the sky's not falling, and I don't want to put all the blame on the defense right now. It was just a great Georgia team right now. I'm just going to say that. Georgia was just great, and I do appreciate the offense. They were off the chains, if you ask me. They just slowed down in the fourth quarter, and then Georgia went on that 17-0 run. But I'm not going to say that. I think you learn more from losing, actually. I'm actually glad we lost, because it was like when you have all those wins, they go to your head and you're like, well, I'm undefeated, because we saw it against Washington State, I think, where it was all these wins that we was going in there and it was going to be an easy game. But this game really just put things in perspective to lock in on the next few games that's coming up. Yeah, I agree. I think I saw this great quote, and I can't remember for the life of me who said it, but Ole Miss played 58 minutes of football and Georgia played 60. So I think it'll be good for us to, overcome adversity and make sure we're playing 60 minutes of football next week at Oklahoma. I think it is definitely good to lose against good teams, because you're right, we can take a lot more away from that.
Yeah, no, 100%. I mean, this is, Max, I want to go back to something you said about the secondary, the safeties in particular for Ole Miss. Mm-hmm. They couldn't stop a parked car. Lawson Lucky had 3 of Gunnar Stockton's 4 passing touchdowns, and it was because the seam was wide open in the middle of the field. Yeah. The safeties simply they left the middle of the field wide open. There was so much open underneath and up the seam, and you can't leave such a major, important part of the field in your secondary completely exposed like that. And granted, this is an Ole Miss defense that lost a lot of talent. A lot of guys went to the NFL and graduated, but that defense, they could not stop a parked car. I mean, it was unbelievable. And you have an amazing offensive performance go to waste, because you simply just can't. You can't cover the seam. Simple.
I totally agree. And something else that I think is apparent is this was one of the most efficient offenses, if not the most efficient offenses that Ole Miss has faced this year. And when I talked about the D-line earlier and the struggles with the pass rush, kind of what you talked about, a lot of those guys previously on that defense moved up to the other level. Cam Franklin was working overtime. I think Ole Miss needs to do a better job at, refreshing their defensive line. I mean, that defensive line was exhausted, and you could see it, and it showed in the fourth quarter. And, it's like we talked about leading up to the game last week, is that Georgia is a second-half team. So, you got a team that's fully ramped up in the second quarter, and you could see the effect on our defense. They really started to lose it and push it. But I think that was the biggest takeaway for me defensively. I mean, other than the, awful secondary, and I want to touch more on that later when we talk about reference to Oklahoma. But yeah, the defensive line was also a very big apparent issue, just because, we got the talent, but we need to have more depth off the bench, in my opinion.
100%. Little to no substitutions for Pete Golding and Lane Kiffin, and those were 2 of some of the best coaches in the SEC. I was very disappointed that there really was no effort to substitute, because you're right, Cam Franklin played a phenomenal game. And, you've got guys like Will Eccles that are really trying to stop the run, and it's like those are really the only 2 guys that have been able to get any kind of momentum going. I get it, you want to leave them in, but you got to give those guys a break. We have depth. We have players that can come in and play. May not be the most experienced, but at least get guys off the field and get them a chance to get in the shade and get some water. Yeah.
Are you guys saying that was just poor coaching decision? Or
no, I wouldn't say that.
No, I mean, you have, again, and this is such a blanket statement, but you have one of the best offenses versus one of the best defenses, and that what we got was a show. Let me tell you, I mean, Eric, I know you said you were in Athens, which was it was a fantastic atmosphere. That was amazing to see. You really saw the effect that atmosphere had in the game, but also just great coaching. I mean, that's why, Georgia is such a powerhouse school, is that, they have years and years of refined and just strengthened spirit, good coaching. I mean, you really can't say that, there was a bad coaching experience on either side of the ball. I think it was more on the players, but that's a kind of shaky statement, walk on eggshells when I say that.
Yeah.
But I think that both teams are greatly coached. I mean, you have, again, best offense with Lane Kiffin and then a top-rated defense.
They had us right where they wanted us to. On the Jumbotron, it said, we are a fourth quarter team. I mean, it kind of started to feel like whichever team got the first stop was going to be the one that, prevailed. And then that's kind of how it turned out. It's just like very back and forth. And then when Ole Miss started to stall, it was kind of obvious what was going to happen.
Still impressed with Trinidad.
Yeah.
Impressed with him.
Yeah.
So, I mean, let's talk about the pros, because I feel like that is kind of, I mean, they're kind of like you said, you learn a lot when you lose, but also, I think there were some good takeaways from that game, one of them being Trinidad. This is by far the biggest stakes game that he's played in, I think. And look how he performed. He performed absolutely amazing, really. I don't think there was a single thing on his part that could have gone better. Fourth quarter, people were questioning, do you think the noise got to him? No, I don't think so. I think the defense from Georgia really ramped up in the fourth quarter.
Yes.
And you could really see that. I mean, they were just making good plays. And Trinidad, for the most part, remained completely composed, which is like, I was watching him and I'm like, I can't understand this kid, because I've seen against Kentucky. Okay, you see Kentucky, and then you see Arkansas, and these are some big games. But he went into Georgia, guy from D2 went to Georgia and was just completely composed. So I got to say kudos to Trinidad. I mean, I think he passed the test, and I think that is just how he can utilize the rest of his offense that will give him a W in these weeks to come.
I think it was his mom being there. I saw the little thing where it was like his mom was there and she prayed over him. I think it was his mom. They really calmed him down. But also, I am impressed with the play calling on the offensive side. In the second quarter, when Austin Simmons came in, and it was just a switch up. They really just confused Georgia defense, and I was appreciative of that and seeing it.
Yeah, and I feel like he's had more time. We were talking about this yesterday. I think he's had more time to the O-line has gotten a lot better, so that's a big improvement.
Took the words right out of my mouth. This offensive line played an absolutely phenomenal game. No false starts, no holding penalties, really. They played a very clean, very disciplined game. You play in a place like Sanford Stadium, Between the Hedges. That is a notorious venue to play in, especially on an afternoon kickoff like that in a major SEC game. Held it down. They did a phenomenal job. Massive shout out to the Rebels offensive line. They have not been getting nearly enough praise and recognition for what they've been doing this season, because it is night and day between what we saw against Georgia State and now what we're seeing against Georgia. One of the worst teams in college football to one of the best, and they looked phenomenal on Saturday, and they have the past few games, and this game really proved that this is a unit that has really started to come together. So major shout out to the big boys in the trenches.
Yeah, well, I mean, we're sad, but absolutely not devastated or disheartened. And we will talk more about some of the other SEC games that happened over the weekend, as well as an exciting interview, once again, right after the break.
Everyone that's not revered as an Ole Miss legend has been in your shoes before, trying to survive that Mississippi heat, competing for a spot, and doing the sacrifice that it takes to make it in this league. You go into this money collection of men from 100 different places. And if you work, you emerge from it as one team with one goal and one heartbeat. The SEC awaits you.
Blame me.
And if they don't know who you are now, they will soon.
The dynamic freshman is starting to make his impact.
Dagger with the shot clock down to 1.
That 3-ball drops for Jamin Brakefield. Fagan from the corner with a triple. Burrell for 3, and that's a big response. 3 ball. Yes. Miss shooting lights out at the pavilion. And give him one more. Wow. Well, you can't teach that. Well, that should give Ole Miss a boost.
Ole Miss 18th NCAA tournament appearance.
This is fun, folks, as Baker's feeling it. Little heat check. To Collins for 3. Bring it up.
Said, I love Madison Scott.
Ole Miss Rebels.
All right, so I mean, I'll say it. Bama is looking better and better, much to my chagrin personally. So what do we think about that Tennessee and Alabama game?
I thought that I've been proven correct, and I hate to kind of toot my own horn, but I am going to here. I said that Tennessee would lose this game a few weeks ago, and I said that Joey Aguilar can put up all the numbers he wants to in the world, but he turns the ball over and he makes bad decisions. Joey Aguilar throws a 99-yard pick six on the final play of the second half. Alabama is up 23-7 at the half. Tennessee loses by 17 points. Great, throw for all the yards you want to, but you can't make good decisions, and you lose football games because of that. I think they lose another game to Oklahoma. Tennessee's not a good football team. I'm sorry. I'm sick and tired of them being overhyped. They were put on a national stage with a big ranking, and they fell flat once again.
Henry, man, what is it going to take? What is it going to take for you to bleed crimson just a little bit? What is it going to take for you to say Roll Damn Tide just once on this broadcast?
I'm never going to say
Don't say that on this show. Don't say Roll Tide.
I can say whatever I want.
We don't say that on this show. But that is a good point. I mean, you can't just kind of give it to Bama and say maybe they look strong. Like, how Tennessee has to look weak.
I was trying to let a little bit of discourse go back and forth, but if you want to hear my side of that, absolutely. Bama looks legit. They do. They look fantastic. Tennessee's not a good football team, and Alabama won that game by 3 scores, which is exactly what I was expecting them to do against this team. Ty Simpson played a great game. J.M. Miller played a great game. From front to back, Alabama played a lights-out football game and demolished a bad Tennessee team exactly like they were supposed to. All the credit in the world to Kalen DeBoer and his staff. This is a completely different team than what we saw week 1 against Florida State.
I think Bama's shaping up to be, and I said this before, but I think Alabama still can't be a team that we just count out of that conversation because I think that they are going to be somebody to watch out for later on. Like, all right.
I have been a tough critic on Alabama all season, and they did exactly what I was expecting and wanting out of them, what I wanted to see out of them. They did that on Saturday. They are now in my good graces. They have gone out. They have proved themselves. They are continuing to win. They are continuing to show grit. They're continuing to play great football. Alabama is a great football team and are a legitimate contender for the SEC. Love it.
What about the other Tennessee team, Vanderbilt versus LSU?
Heck of a win for the Commodores. First win over LSU since 1990. Best record through it this far in the season since 1950.
Yeah.
5 years removed from the Second World War. So shout out to the Commodores. They didn't rush the field after this game. They beat the number 10 team in the country, a team that they had not beaten in 35 years, and they stayed in their seats and cheered and watched their team head into the tunnel. They didn't rush the field. Heck of a win for Clark Lee in that program, and what a sign of how things are shaping up in Nashville. Great game from Diego Pavia, Shedrick Alexander at running back. Impressed with the Commodores. I looked at their schedule. Think they win out the rest of the year. They're going to beat Tennessee.
I totally agree, and I honestly, I've been leading into the media eye a little bit, and I think Diego Pavia, I think there's a bit of a Heisman talk, and I think that's something interesting. Hey, you know what? Okay. And I'm not advocating for or against anyone right now, but it's interesting to see Vanderbilt is an impressive team right now.
I can see the merit. He put on a dynamic performance. 3 total touchdowns, 1 through the air, 2 on the ground. He was efficient passing. Just over 85 yards, 86 yards on the ground. Credit to him. He played a great game against a really good LSU defense.
Well, bringing things back to Ole Miss, Mariah and Henry had the opportunity to have an interview.
We had a chance to sit down with offensive lineman Jayden Williams.
Yeah, he was a great dude to talk to. The only thing, he didn't know what pickle pig feet was, and that was his only thing, so.
It was a really great interview, and if you want to see it on YouTube, then you can see a little bit about what Mariah's talking about, but we're going to see what he had to say about the game last weekend and the upcoming game against Oklahoma right now.
What do you define as success personally on and off the field? Because I did hear that you are a family man.
Like, if I want to be a better football player, I had to be a better man because, like, they correlate on and off the field. If I want to be a better dad, like, it all correlates somehow because, like,
I say like with a dad, like being a dad with the offense, being a dad first. Like sometimes when I'm sitting there with them younger dudes in the offensive line room, I feel like I feel like I'm being a dad sometimes, and I'm just being like, what are you doing? And it just reminds me of talking to my daughter, even though my daughter's young. It's like, sometimes I just look at her like, what are you doing? And it's just like, this being them things. So I think they all correlate, and it all starts with consistency at the end of the day.
Like, who has been kind of the biggest, guy that you've been working with, kind of mentoring?
I say the freshman, Devin Harper. He's going to be really good because he has things that you can't teach, like physicality and like the way he plays hard. But it's like little stuff that you got to clean up with him, like plays too fast sometimes. And like you have to get him there mentally. And like I preached to him, like sometimes like it's okay to slow down, like it's okay to do this. And the other freshman, Connor House, and that was more so when he was playing at tackle. And like we just sit and talk about stuff, and he'll sit and pick my brain and ask all these questions. I want them to be better than me because I didn't. And sometimes I feel like I haven't maximized. Been here 5 years. I didn't maximize all my time the right way since I've been here. But I want them to do that, especially starting like as a freshman. Like the earlier you get it down, is the better you'll be in the future.
How do you bounce back personally after a loss like this, and how do you communicate that to the other offensive linemen, particularly the young guys?
I mean, we played a good game. The first 5 drives we had, we scored 5 touchdowns, and then we stalled out. That's like, yeah, you don't want to stall out, but we did a lot of good things, and it can be like one of those things where you let the wheels fall off because we lost the game. We lost one game. We're 6-1. We got 5 games left. So you just have to stick with it. We got to move on, forget it, and do the same thing we did on the field versus Georgia, versus Oklahoma. And
what is the style of Oklahoma play that you would describe? How would you describe their style of play?
It's different. Like it's different every week. They have a lot of different things that they do. Like you got to account for a lot of blitzes, a lot of stunts, and a lot of things that you do. So it's like you have to be dialed in this week because you're gonna be playing on the fly a lot. You got to have your eyes in the right spot. But like I compare them like it's like their defensive front with the production they have. I compare them to like our defensive line last year, because 31 sacks through 7 games they played. That's hard to do it for anybody. So it's like it does come to the same thing where it's like you have to account for backers, people blitzing, and always have your eyes in the right spot and trust our rules and what we've gone out there to do in practice.
Who kind of was your biggest impact over the course of your career here at Ole Miss?
I'd say I got to watch a good offensive lineman and Nick Broker play for 2 years. So it's like I sat behind him at left tackle. I played beside him for a year. So watching him and watching the way he does, because that's your definition of a pro. Take care of his body, do things right on the practice field, plays hard. Mentally, he's always there, works out hard. And I tell you, like when I actually got on the field as a younger player, Mason Brooks, who transferred in from Western Kentucky, and Hamilton Hall, he was actually my roommate while he was still here. They were big for me like during the season, because like as a young offensive lineman, as a younger player, I could lose my mind out there sometimes on the field. And it's like they did a good job and watching me. If they see me make a mistake, they'll do the same thing that I do to our young offensive linemen. They'll come tell me if I got to play harder. Like Mason, he'll keep me dialed in with like every rusher that comes in. So it was like, I say those 3 were the biggest.
What would be the key to walking away with a win this weekend?
I say coming out and doing the same thing we did last week. Like everybody was dialed in through practice, through meetings, through walkthroughs, like treated the same way. It's the same, like in different game plan, but mentally you have to treat it the same way. It's another good team, number 1 ranked defense in the country. I believe it's a good team. Like you got to respect them, and we're going to their place. And it's always hard playing on the road, but you don't let all those outside factors get to you. You just let it be. Like, we're here to play football. It's the same game. Someone's been playing for 5 seasons, some for 4. It's the same game, though. Like, you go out there with the same mindset. It's just football. You know your job. You do everything you got to do to help the team win, and we'll win.
This is an offensive line that saw a lot of transfers. And, how do you feel y'all have kind of come together and meshed as a unit kind of over the course of the season, with you talking about how well y'all have been dialed into practice and stuff like that?
We're close as a group off the field, too, more than I think we have been any other year, because it's a lot of younger people in there. It's just some goofballs, I call them, like all of them. Like, it's something wrong with them sometimes. But I say, like, as far as off the field, like, we're a very close unit, and that's from me to the youngest in the room. Like, everybody gets along. But I say, on the field, as far as it goes, we had a lot of people, like, injured in the spring, fall camp, a lot of pieces moving around. That was the first time we got to play one unit, same 5, since we've all been here. So I think like that was the biggest thing, us all getting back out there, just a consistent 5, and us learning to play off each other and like be on the same page. And I think that's what's helping over the course of the year, of like why we've been playing better, or why we're not struggling this much.
What's 3 words you would use to describe this team and this unit?
I think the team a bunch of goofballs too. I was like a bunch of goofballs, but this is like we're family, we're understanding, and we hard workers. And we just we're not gonna quit. And I think that's the biggest thing I've seen from this team. Like coming from the summer to now, like we're close, and it's just same thing. Like how the offense, it don't matter how old you are, how young you are, the color, it don't matter. Everybody's on this team close, and I think that's the biggest thing.
Thank you so much again. What an amazing opportunity to get the chance to speak with him. We will be right back after the break to talk all things Oklahoma, though.
Here at the University of Mississippi, we produce a nightly half-hour newscast, broadcasting regionally on cable and globally on the World Wide Web. It's the kind of experience that is preparing me to walk into any news station in the country with the skills and abilities I need to succeed. So it's not just preparing me for the real world, it is the real world.
Do you love sports? Then you should know about STEM. Because maximizing nutrition, analyzing peak muscle performance, calculating the perfect shot, and more are all made possible by science, technology, engineering, and math. In fact, there are more careers than ever in sports science. So if you have a passion for sports, then think about getting involved in STEM and improve everyone's game on and off the field. Get inspired at SheCanSTEM.com.
These are more than just the sounds of a safe place to go after school. These are the sounds of interest being ignited and of mentors making an impact. At Boys and Girls Clubs, we don't do just one thing. We do whatever it takes to meet the needs of every kid who comes through those doors. Because whatever it takes is what it takes to build great futures. Great futures start here.
We are rebels. For more than 160 years, we've been accomplishing the impossible, from conducting the world's first lung transplant to helping prove Einstein was right. From preserving the past to saving the future. We are Mississippi's flagship university, a place where passion and learning unite, where friends become family, where small-town charm meets world-class innovation. We are the University of Mississippi. We are Ole Miss.
All right, Oklahoma this weekend at Oklahoma. What are our predictions? 3, 2, 1.
I'm conflicted. I would be the difference maker then if everybody's doing it because I don't want to go there.
All right, contrarian, what do you think?
27-22.
Whoa.
Score prediction out of the gate. Would that be a scoregami in college football?
I think 22 points. Yeah, I'd say so.
All right, well, we'll fact check that. Yeah. Why? I know you're conflicted, so I know you can maybe go either way, but why did you show Oklahoma besides that we all showed
because y'all going to be on the highlight reel if y'all all went Ole Miss, but also, I wanted to do this because I do love John Mateer still. I don't care about the Texas game. He was rushed to get out there, but he got back to his normal self doing South Carolina, and I'm sticking with them. I love the defense here. Yeah, they're not all that against Texas, but they came back against South Carolina. I'm going to say South Carolina game. Yeah, struggling South Carolina team, but still, I like them.
I completely agree. Defense-wise, I mean, they were really, really strong. And they've been strong all year, but against South Carolina, it was like 13 tackles for loss, 1.6 yards per carry. That's absolutely insane. They looked really, really dominant in the red zone too. So that worries me. But I'm still going Ole Miss. I think that John Mateer itself, I don't know anything about John Mateer, but I think we're gonna win. I think we are gonna be stronger than that, especially with our really top-notch offense.
Yeah, I think John Mateer, he's a fantastic quarterback. He's not the same player at the beginning of the season. He's 3 weeks removed from a surgery on a broken hand. I wouldn't be the same if that was me. And it's insane that he's playing right now. He didn't play well against Texas because he did get rushed back, but he also still hasn't really impressed me since he's been back. And I wouldn't expect him to. Like I said, he's still recovering from surgery. So I think that they've got a quarterback who's not playing 100%. And this is a real point of emphasis for me. Oklahoma is missing 3 starters on their offensive line, including Troy Everett, their starting center. Ole Miss needs to ratchet up the pressure defensively and go after Mateer because that offensive line is extremely vulnerable and there are injuries across the board for the Sooners.
Yeah, I got to say, although he is 3 weeks removed from that surgery. By the way, I got the Rebs, but let me elaborate here. Although he is 3 weeks removed from surgery, my concern is that he is only getting better, and that's been apparent the past couple weeks. I am not only, but mostly picking the Rebs because historically we have been efficient getting a win after a big loss, which I think is something that kind of speaks to the power of a coach. And I think Lane Kiffin is really, really attention to detail oriented on the standard after a loss and making sure that nobody gets comfortable after a win and a loss. And I think he's really ramping things up. I think this has been a game that's been on his radar for a while. So I do have the Rebels because I think that if we can clean up that defense, we do have a slightly better offense. But I'm very, very skeptical about how this game's going to go. If I'm John Mateer, I am licking my chops after seeing that secondary. If I'm John Mateer, every night before I go to bed, I'm going on whatever film my coach sent me, and I'm tucking in with a good book and AirPods, and I'm looking at that film, smiling while I go to bed. This is going to be a very interesting game for a guy that was top of the Heisman talk before this hand injury, still in the conversation, ramping his way back up to the top, and now gets to watch that performance from last week. So chops are being licked.
John Mateer is going to put on that Superman cape, I believe, and stop talking about chops are going to be licked.
Licking his chops, man.
But I will say Oklahoma has two explosive running backs, Torrey Baylock and Xavier Robinson. I'm really going to watch out for them this weekend because they're going to be the difference maker. John Mateer can't get right. He's going to be running.
I also think they might be a difference maker because I believe there's rain in the radar. I think they're practicing with they're dipping their footballs in water too, so that could really inhibit the passing game. So I think running is going to be a big deal, and I think that. Correct me if I'm wrong. I think against Georgia, our running wasn't looking too strong. No, so hopefully we're making sure to be attentive to that, especially if we're going to have to, keep turning to that because the passing game can't be strong with the rain.
Yeah, I don't think it's fair to say that Ole Miss didn't have a good run game against Georgia. We just didn't utilize it. We really didn't put an emphasis on running the ball. It was basically the running that we did do was basically just with Trinidad Chambliss. And mind you, Kejuan Lacey scored a touchdown. So when we ran the ball, we were effective. We just didn't do it very much. And I think that's a reason that maybe we lost that game is we really didn't try to establish the run because we've been successful when we've done that. I think we definitely have to try and do that. I think we absolutely have to try and do that Saturday. We have got to make John Mateer uncomfortable, and we have to dial up the pressure. I do that by moving linebacker Sontarian Perkins out of coverage. I put him as an edge rusher. That's where he's excelled over his time at Oxford. He was an edge rusher last year. He was an edge rusher as a true freshman. He can play coverage, but that shouldn't be his primary responsibility. It should be rushing the quarterback. He's really good at that. And I think that we have to go after John Mateer. I think we will, and I think that we win the game because of that.
Score prediction.
This is tough. I put a lot of thought into this. I'm going 34-26 on this.
I think if we score 30, we win the game for sure.
Yeah.
I'm gonna take. You go.
I had 35-30 Rebs.
Okay.
Or maybe a little, could be closer.
I feel like it might be lower than that.
I don't know. You saw last week from Georgia versus Ole Miss that if both teams, kind of like you said, Henry, a good defense versus a good offense, so it kind of goes down to, how good each defense is if you think about it. Both teams are going to score. That's going to be something apparent. You're going to see it. Both teams are going to score. They're going to rank it up, I think. Or I could be completely wrong. Who knows?
Maybe 28-17. I think that if I'm right and the Rebs win, I think it might kind of end up being in that fashion. I think if our offense shows up, Oklahoma won't be able to score that much. I think we could win by multiple possessions.
Okay. I think Oklahoma's defense is going to sack Trinidad maybe 2 times. I'm not going to lie.
Okay, we're going to get sacked.
Yes, okay. I hope I'm wrong. I mean, I go here. I hope I'm wrong, but I think he will be sacked.
I think, and to speak to something that Mariah said earlier, I think a big part that lies within this dynamic is the fact that Oklahoma has a very deep running back room. So I think that they're going to be able to keep things fresh behind QB. But that kind of goes hand in hand with what we saw last week, where I am worried about how fresh we can keep our defensive line and the struggles that we saw there. So, you want to talk about it could be a rain game. Yeah, it could be a rain game, but, if they can keep that going, it doesn't make much of a difference if our defensive line's going to, start running out of gas. So we will see how it goes.
Yeah, we will see how it goes. And we will be back next week to obviously unpack all of it. I think huge postseason implications with this game. So I will be sitting on my couch tuning in. Hopefully all of you will as well. And tuning in next week to Rebel Watch. I've been your host, Erika Dierke.
I'm Max Certuse.
I'm Mariah Evans.
And I'm Henry Stewart.
We'll catch you guys next week, hopefully with a dub. Hotty toddy.
Hotty toddy.